You have to give me a second. We're doing the new setup. Hey, I got sound. I got sound that's horribly late. I got sound. Wow. Okay. Mabuntag, may hapon, may gabi, no matter where you are in the world. I got sound that's horribly late. I have no idea how comments are showing up on this or how late it's going to be. There's about a 30-second delay in audio today that I'm going through my Streamlabs for a couple of reasons. That I wanted to talk a little bit about what was going on with the current vax situation, no vax, no fly, no ride, all this good rot. It seems to be the hot button topic of the last few days. And it is an amazing development, in my opinion. The Philippines is finally reopening. That, let me get the right one that I'm looking for here real quick. And yeah, this is part of the reason why I like this setup. Is it allows me to go back and forth behind the scenes before I actually get to you. It is official. The Philippines is opening as of the 10th to foreigners. And they're opening up to visa-free foreigners as well. Hey, good day, Brandon. How are things back in Phoenix? I'll get to it in a minute that we actually went down and are getting tickets. We're trying to make PAL honor our voucher. So, but by Friday we will have tickets. The Philippines is officially opening for tourism starting February 10th for citizens from the 150 countries that are visa-free countries, including the United States, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. I guess they were going to, yeah, I was reading this article, and it briefly was mentioned in another article, but I guess that they were actually looking to do it in December, but Omicron panic pushed everything back. But they realized it was just exactly that, a panic, and it backed off immensely quickly. And they're admitting that they need to get the tourism up. The tourism secretary, not even going to try and pronounce that name. That'll contribute significantly to job restoration, primarily in the tourism-dependent communities, which there's a lot of. There's a lot of here in the Philippines. The 150 countries that had visa-free tourism, you're welcome back, finally. After almost 2 years, that March would have been 2 years that the Philippines have been shut. So this is a huge, huge development that is greatly needed. I'm not in love with this article for in a little bit, but for the vaccinated portions, this is a great article. Full breakdown of the entry requirements. Travelers, regardless of their vaccination status, will require a PCR test taken no more than 48 hours before departure. Which, if you're coming from the States, shouldn't be that big of a deal. I don't know about the other countries, but I'm assuming it shouldn't be a big deal in those countries either. More Mr. Philippine Experience. How you doing today, John? This is good news for you. I haven't looked at that. I may actually check that out while I'm online for this. Fully vaccinated travelers won't need to undergo quarantine measures, but must self-monitor for 7 days after arrival. And if there's any symptoms, you're supposed to report it to the local government unit. Children under 18 don't need proof of vaccination, that they fall under whatever their parents or guardians are under. Filipino citizens who are fully vaccinated won't have to quarantine at arrival any longer. They're scrapping that traffic light system that it did not work out well for them. I guess it's still going on in New Zealand. That you're supposed to be vaccinated for the main focus of what the people want. They want in. Now this says that the Philippines is going to maintain its ban on unvaccinated travelers. However, unvaccinated Filipinos can enter the country. Yet that actually differs from what that IATF resolution says. This is one thing I didn't do. So I'm going to do it here real quick. Where is it? There we go. On the unit, on the first part of this, starting today, that they're scrapping the red light, green light, the traffic light system, is effective February 1st. And this does say international arriving Filipinos and foreign nationals allowed entry into the country shall be as follows. And it does give procedures for unvaccinated, partially vaccinated, or individuals whose vaccination status cannot be independently validated. That they're to require a RT-PCR test taken within 48 hours prior to departure. Additionally, they should be required to undergo facility-based quarantine until the release of their negative RT-PCR test on the 5th day, after which they go through the 14-day self-quarantine. Under 12, you can't be vaccinated. Parent that they follow the quarantine protocols of their parents or accompanying adult guardian. So, I'm not 100% sure if unvaccinated are going to be able to enter still with the visa on arrival program. You may need to be fully vaccinated to arrive on with the visa on arrival program back in place. So, John, if you're thinking about coming for the visa on arrival version, that may not work for you yet. But because of your because you're going through the visa process, or is it right here? Yeah, I didn't plan on reading this one, that's why I'm not terribly. Morning, Mr. Daniel, how you doing today? There we go, this line right here is what would apply to you, John. For international arriving Filipinos and foreign nationals allowed entry into the country. Because you're going through the visa process, I'm thinking he's right. But like I say, I would get a letter from the embassy clarifying it. Because it is a little bit questionable at this point. But it does look to be you are allowed entry into the country because of the going through the process. So there may be that it looks like that there's an exception for you anyhow, because you are not going to be coming over on a visa on arrival program. So yeah, I would definitely would not give up hope and would be getting a hold of these people. The ballot buy-in program, Daniel, that you mentioned, it doesn't really say anything about the ballot buy-in program. It kind of does, because that's I believe that's considered part of the visa on arrival program. That it would fall under that Executive Order 408, 1960, I believe. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this. I'm just reading what's in front of me, to be bluntly honest. Hey, Mr. David, how you doing today? That you are allowed back in the Philippines if New Zealand will let you out of country. They're even doing away with the no vax, no ride. That because Manila was put back under level 2, the no vax, no ride and all that is done away with. I don't know whether or not you can get into stores and stuff like that without a quarantine card or a vax card. But the no vax, no ride has been suspended. And I haven't seen anything directly on the no vax, no fly, but back when they first implemented it, it did specify that it was in place as long as alert level 3 or higher was in effect. So since they dropped back down and they are doing away with no vax, no ride, I would think this is going away. But when you guys get here, you can take, you can take a look, and see that I'm going through reading comments right now. The one drawback is I don't have comments on the side of my box. Yeah, comments aren't over in here anymore, so sorry. Uh, I don't know about illegal, but when you're the group making the laws, I guess nothing you do is actually illegal. Look at the U.S. Uh, yeah, I guess ticket prices too here have skyrocketed, and ticket prices going back to the U.S. are kind of high, but they're not astronomically high. If they don't honor the ticket, it's going to be about $700 one way on PAL from Cebu, Manila, LA. Now, David, are you free to leave because of the New Zealand rules, or just personal issues that you need to get tied up? Now, Daniel, the Balikbayan visa privilege was a privilege that they extended towards the Filipinos and their spouses. It was something that not everyone got every time, that you generally did, but there were times or places that people didn't get it. Yeah, whether or not there's a law written for it, if you're the group that writes the laws, that you get to basically do whatever you want, which is part of what the U.S. is going through at this point, and it's up to somebody else to point it out and actually do something about it. David, that may not be a bad idea. That may not be a bad idea. That early on, we had some friends of ours that came over just before all of this idiocy took place, and they were trapped in the Philippines and couldn't get out for almost a year. Lumpia Life, that they spent about 6 months trying to get back out of the Philippines. That yeah, New Zealand's had some really weird rules about people leaving country. I don't think there were many countries like that. Early on, there were a few. Like I say, Philippines, you had a hard time getting out of country even. The U.S. they didn't care. Well, they cared, but they couldn't do anything. Gotta love America for a lot of reasons. Yeah, I gotta come back here to this window for a few minutes, and I've got comments on the side on the side over here that I can actually read. That's part of what's going on. Is so many of these countries that they are finally starting to reopen after so long. I think you are going to see a spike in ticket prices. That a lot of these airlines are so freaking horrible in debt. That they're so deep in the red that they don't know what to do. Philippine Airlines filed for bankruptcy and has managed to come out of Chapter 11 in the U.S. But Daniel, you had a comment restricted. Sorry about that. I haven't got a way to. I just realized I'm not a monitor on my own channel, so. I watch from my Motovlog channel. That way I get to see what you guys are seeing, not what Hills to Phoenix is broadcasting. So I never included that channel as a moderator. So yeah, Daniel, you do. You need a because you're coming under that visa on arrival program. You do need a throwaway ticket. You don't have to have a return ticket. You just have to have a ticket out of country within 30 days. And a lot of people historically have had tickets to Singapore or someplace like that that was a dirt cheap ticket that they could just throw away, hence the nickname throwaway ticket. And so if that's where you're at, yeah, you may need to go buy a cheap ticket somewhere else. Daniel, Filipino citizen. Yeah, Filipino citizens don't need the throwaway ticket because they're a citizen. They're not getting a visa on arrival. They're just returning back to the country. And it's the same thing as if you flew into the U.S. from Canada. You'd have to have a return ticket or a ticket out of country within so long. Yeah, the comments are a little bit slow back and forth. And the problem is I can read these comments, but not those. Let me do the glasses thing. Now, I don't know whether or not they're going to be doing the Balikbayan for spouses. The spouses were always included in, and it's something that they can do, but it is up to the individual immigrations person whether or not they do it. And he can just be having a bad hair day and just say no, and there's nothing you can do. It would almost be much better for you to have the return ticket in place and not need it than get into a situation that you got a guy that is having less than a good day and is going to wind up making you buy a ticket here at the last minute. There we go. Okay. Hey, we have a guest star coming in.
She just woke up. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, you can see the light, so.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
Hi, dear.
I need to feed her.
Uh-oh.
Just a short one.
Yeah, at least you came in and said hi.
Yeah, okay. Papa need love. Bye-bye.
We had our special guest star making a cameo. Huh. I'm reading comments here real quick. Now, Philippine experience that when you enter with your spouse, generally you don't need one. Uh, even during normal times, I've heard of people, a BI guy having a bad day, whatever, and making the non-Filipino spouse accept a 30-day visa on arrival. So it was definitely a privilege. So, if I was in that situation, I'd have an ongoing ticket. And it's not a return ticket, it's an ongoing ticket. You just got a ticket out of country. That's why the Singapore, Taiwan, Taipei and stuff like that tickets were so common, that they were cheap tickets that were under $100 that you could throw away. But it satisfied the immigration requirements. And so, hence the name throwaway tickets. PAL would be the final arbitrator on whether or not they're going to take you there. Will they give you crap? I don't know. One time they gave me crap, and Cindy had to point out that she comes to the Philippines under Philippines passport. Before I had my 13A, we were doing like a 35, 38 day stay. And then somebody red flagged that I had an American passport and too long of a stay. And that's when she pointed out she's a returning citizen and I'm going to be accompanying her. And they were happy with that. But PAL was and immigration didn't have any problem. They just marked a BB and moved on. Okay, so okay. Now the only thing I'd be a little concerned about, Daniel. Daniel emailed me or messaged me. Philippine Airlines replies that they had. The dates on these are from October 2021, October of last year. Because this stuff is so spontaneous and changing new, I would still recontact them and ask again under current rules and regulations that you've been here often enough that even though they're saying they're going back to the old rules, it's still new rules and subject to new interpretation. But yeah, that they and that's the sad part. It is, as you said, that you spoke with a consulate. You got to go back through and backing up some of these. Daniel, she is growing. When she first came home, the top of her There we go. The top of her head would be at my bicep, and her butt would rest neatly in my palm. And at this point, that she, her leg, my fingertips are about the small of her back. She is definitely getting way big. Cindy was holding her up the other day, and they were about neck even. And her feet were down almost at Cindy's waist. But I was teasing her about Chana's 3 months old and already half your height. By the time she's 5, she's gonna be taller than you. Yeah, that didn't go over so well. But yeah, she's growing like a weed, and that's actually really cool. And yeah, Daniel, your next comment, if you phone a consulate and they didn't know anything, that sadly that's going to be true for a while. That's going to be true for a while, unfortunately. That these people, these rules are so subject to interpretation over here. And so many low-level bureaucrats are able to make on-the-fly interpretations that are very difficult to fight with them there on the spot. That you almost have to be prepared for the worst interpretation anyhow. Like I say, tickets out of the Philippines aren't terribly expensive. You might look at getting a ticket, just the cheapest international ticket you can out of Manila within 30 days of your arrival, and just call it good. I don't know, it just silliness, and way too much silliness going on, but it is getting better and it is improving. David, that Chana's definitely going to be initiated into the adventures rather quickly, and they're going to continue because when we land in the U.S., it's going to get crazy there too. Hopefully, most of the craziness will be over with. Philippine experience, they don't have to give you one, it's up to them. We already mentioned that. I'm reading older comments here, so. Got the messages. My son's, a lot of his messages come through that way too for some reason. With the images come through on my messengers upside down, I don't get it. Gotta love it. Daniel, that would depend if you do you think I need one for my wife? Daniel, that would depend on, is she still a Filipino citizen? Is she still a dual citizen? Still have Filipino citizenship, or just strictly Canadian citizen? If she is a dual citizen or a Filipino citizen, no, she doesn't. She's just a returning citizen. But if she's if she does not have Filipino citizenship, I'd get with the airline. I'd get with the airline whether or not they're going to want you to have one. And if you can find one that's cheap, you may want to just grab two if she's not a Filipino citizen. Like I say, I've heard of others over the years that have gotten hung on that one and wound up having to pay some exorbitant prices to get a ticket out because they only had a one-way ticket. Then because she'll fly in on her, she'll probably fly out of Canada on her Canadian passport, yet arrive in the Philippines on her Philippines passport. And so in that case, no, you don't need an ongoing ticket. Cindy did the same thing coming here, that she left U.S. on a U.S. passport and arrived in the Philippines on a Philippines passport. When we go to leave, her and Chana are going to leave on a Philippines passport, and they will arrive in the U.S. on a U.S. passport. That I gotta both leave and enter on a U.S. passport. I'm not privileged to have the dual passports. I'm only the dad in this mess. I don't get the really cool things. Chana is a dual citizen from birth, so she'll have passports for both countries as soon as the U.S. gets off their little butt and gets us a passport. But that process is moving along. A week ago yesterday, we had the consulate interview and all that. It's all approved. We just got to get the paperwork now. And the paperwork is going to be 6 to 8 weeks. So at about week 7, we're going to get a hold of the consulate if we haven't got the paperwork yet. No, it's kind of the same with me, that because you're arriving on a foreign passport, you fall under different rules. That you are an immigrant to the country, yet she's a returning native. That it's the same thing with Cindy, that when she returns, that she comes back on a Philippines passport. And, so it's not a problem for her. Whereas when I come in, I come in on oop. There you go. Lighting's not quite as harsh. Oh, Daniel, there is every possibility, and in my opinion, expectation that it'll change at least once or twice more before April. I full well expect the rules to change before we leave. Hopefully for the better, hopefully. But I full well expect the rules to change somewhat before we leave at the end of March. Daniel, how long are you going to be here in the Philippines? Because if you're going to be here 6-8 months, you can do the 13A from here. The biggest drawback is you get a 1-year conditional versus a permanent one doing it out of country. But after the 1-year conditional, you still get the same permanent afterwards. So you just got that 1-year probation. Philippine experience, you're right. Things change daily around here. I'm hoping against hope that because everything went down to level 2, that level 2 nonsense, that where did we go? There we go. I'm sincerely hoping that because everything's going back to level 2 tomorrow or today, that the no vax, no entry policy will start falling by the wayside. That if you're going to be here for any length of time, like I say, Daniel, you can apply for the 13A from here. That's not a big deal at all. Marky Shoemate just got his 13A. Rod from Dumageddon Expat, or Expat Files or something like that, that he got his a while ago, and his just transitioned to permanent. Yeah, you can get them from here. If you're going to be here more than 6 months, I'd just get it here and be done with it. Enjoy, Daniel. Have a good dinner. Have some poutine. That is one thing I'm looking forward to when I get back there. There's a restaurant in Phoenix that's a Canadian owner, and he serves some dishes. And one of the things he does do the I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right. Poutine, the fries with gravy and cheese curd. One of the best Canadian exports ever. Right after Canadian bacon. I don't know, it might be right up there with Canadian bacon. That one might be a tie for one and two, but yeah, no, I like that. Enjoy. Yes, PAL. I gotta diddy bop back to PAL. Our adventures with Philippines Airlines. We went down to the Philippine Airlines offices yesterday. And showed them everything, and they said the vouchers expired after 1 year. We tried to explain to them there's absolutely nothing in that email. You can read through the entire email. Well, it's in the email chain. And no, we can pull up the original email and show you it is not in that. I just forwarded them to her so that they were a little bit easier to get to. And so he said he's applying for a courtesy extension, and there's no guarantee that they'll get it, and this and that. And, but, I don't know when we'll get back with it, so I'm not entirely sure that it was a go away thing. But he was cool. He gave us his name and his number and all that good stuff. So I'm thinking he was serious and is going to try and work with it to get this right. So as a matter of fact, I'm hoping their office opened at 8:30. I had meant to remind Cindy to call, so if you're still watching this, you might want to call and see if you can get through. Yeah, I wasn't terribly happy with that particular answer, John. But at this point, we're going to book tickets. We haven't told them this yet, but we're going to book tickets with them by Friday. They have 2 flights a day from Manila to LA, one in the morning and one at night. I would much prefer the morning flight because it gets there at 10 a.m. It lands in Manila. It lands in LA at 10 a.m., which would let us get back to Phoenix by that afternoon. And yeah, I am not happy in the least about the way this is turning out, but sadly there are a ton of people that are in the same predicament and have had the same problems, and we are far from a lone example on this. I don't like it, but I can kind of feel for the company because they're hurting bad. Every airline is hurting badly, which is why they're gouging prices while they can, because they know that people, after they've had a taste of international travel, are going to continue to go with it. It's kind of like a drug thing. And right now, people are jonesing to get out of country so bad that there are enough willing to pay whatever it takes to do it, that they can do it. So, I don't know. Yeah, this is like about 1,400, 1,500 because it was 2 tickets. It was about 700 bucks a piece. So, yeah, it's not chump change. And we're going to wind up buying a 3rd child ticket anyhow. You know, whether or not we get to buy tickets or they honor the voucher, we're going to get a third child's ticket anyhow. And just ask for a bassinet. And the other advantage to that is with the 333 seating, it allows us to take up the entire aisle. So that will help. And at this point, we're just kind of accepting that that's what we're going to have to do. Because that's the other thing we need to find out too, is if we're buying a child's ticket, do we get an extra check bags? Or do we just get the child's ticket? Because at this point, we've got 2 check bags each, whether we buy or rebook. And so we're at 4 check bags, and we're looking to see if we can do a 5th. Because if we do the 5th, we can fit everything at Chana's into at least 1. So if we can do 1, that's great. If we can do 2, that would be even better. But that's going to be 6 check bags. At that point, when we get to Phoenix, trying to get all that crap in a car is going to be fun. Parabiology, congrats! Are you coming here to Cebu or are you going to Manila? That if you're coming here to Cebu on the 10th, we'll have to hook up. By then, hopefully things will be open and we can go out for a beer somewhere. But yeah, this week we're going to start the very beginnings of packing and sorting through all this stuff and trying to come up with dispositions on a lot of it. Some of it's going to be flat out given away. Some of it's going to be, fire sold and got out of here. Some of it's going to be, we're going to make an attempt at storing it. You will definitely have to get with me when you land here in Cebu. We will definitely do a meetup. Right now, things outside of Cebu City are pretty open. In Cebu City, a lot of things are still doing the no vax, no entry thing. We're going to go down to Ayala, SM Metro Ayala, to get some groceries and some other stuff today and see if we can get in. And we will worry about that when we get there. And I'm pretty good about talking my way through things. With the fact everything is back down to an alert level 2, I'm hoping I can convince the guard to allow us in if necessary. But I've heard that it's going to continue until the 25th or something like that. So, I don't know. And bottom line, each individual store, whether or not we're alert level 1, 10, or whatever, has got the right to do what, restrict who they want in their store. I don't agree with it, but hey, it's the rules, and that's their prerogative. I completely skipped a groove. Now, if you don't want to answer this and it's none of my business, so be it. Are you vaxxed or not? I've got a few that I do know who is and isn't, but not everybody. Because if you're vaxxed, the Philippines is wide open for you at this point. If you're unvaxxed, the Philippines is open but limitedly so. If you're looking for a play partner every day or so here and there, definitely get with me. I'm always up for a good reason. To be bluntly honest, at this point, if I could guarantee a J&J shot, I'd go do it. I'd go do it. I don't like it. To go get the full series would just take too long. And here, the biggest stumbling block I've had here is the Sinovac, the RussiaVac, the IndiaVac, all those are still on the table. And so I'm not waiting through a 3-hour line only to find out that that's what I'm getting. I'm not getting my preferred vax. And so I'm just not going to do it. And to get the Sinovac or any of those, when we got back to the States, you'd have to get revaccinated with a different vaccine. So, no, I definitely do not like. So, Mama and Papa got lucky down to Sabunga that they got the J&J. So, that was great for them. Although I guess Canada's saying now, even with this vax, you still got to go back and get the booster if you're to be considered fully vaxxed still. Like I said, I don't know if I want to say that, but you were willing enough to go get the J&J vax. And like I say, at this point, if I could guarantee a J&J vax here, both her and I said, screw it, we go do it. Matter of fact, she even looked into it to see whether or not they could somehow coerce a J&J vax out of Sabunga. And that they said no, that they couldn't guarantee it. But they did have plenty of stock. I don't know. Because here you're not considered fully vaxxed until 2 weeks after your last dose. And there's 3 weeks in between doses. So it'd take a minimum of 5 weeks to get fully vaxxed. We're only here for about 7 at this point, 8 at this point. So, we wouldn't be fully vaxxed until the dead end of our trip here. We don't talk about that. But yeah, there's been more than one person that's displayed one. Yeah, it can be kind of crazy. Yeah, just don't get caught at it. Kind of go back to that philosophy. It's not illegal until you get caught. And the penalties are kind of high, and you can get your butt tossed out of country and blacklisted. But yeah, I wouldn't worry terribly about it. Lumpia Life, that they weren't sure whether or not the card they had were going to get accepted, so they went down. And I actually posted a link for it. You can buy the Yellow International CDC cards online at Amazon. and they're dirt cheap. Uh, and Parabiology, are we on Facebook or any other social media? If we are, send me a message, please. If we're not, please let's do so. That our Facebook page is listed on our YouTube description. But yeah, you can get them. And the Olympia Life took it back down to the vaccine site and showed them. And the vaccine site was really cool, and they redid the yellow card form. So they've got both. If you're on Facebook, we're go to either Bills to Phoenix. That we do have a Facebook page. Or if you want, you can just email me at John, John, at billstophoenix.com. Either way works. And I have a personal Facebook page. You can look up at John Rowe. Let me see if I can do this real quick. Now, the one drawback, yeah, I don't know how to do it that way. Oh, it was a week or so ago. That's my email. And if you go to the description page on our YouTube channel, there's a link to our Facebook site. See, I just sent a message, and I'm not seeing it show up. I don't know. I'm assuming it showed up on the live chat, for real live chat, but just not on this. Since Cindy hasn't replied, I don't know if she actually called yet. But I do notice it's coming up on my hour. That's what's going on as of today. Things are reopening. Thursday we'll let you know whether or not we got into Ayala today. And we will keep you updated as to what's going on with our PAL experience, because like I said, by Friday, if we don't have tickets, we'll rebook tickets. We'll just buy tickets and be done with it. I don't want that flight to fill up before. And I don't picture a mass exodus of people at this point from the Philippines. I picture a mass entrance, but not an exodus. So I don't think it's going to fill up that quick. But I'd rather not have to worry about it and just be done with it and have the ticket in hand. especially since there are so few flights out of hand. Yeah, that is one cool thing here is you do get all the fresh Filipino food you want. But for today, from Toe Chip Compound, Mabu.